ShagowAskee Foundation is an indigenous not-for-profit started by a group of indigenous elders, trappers, and knowledge keepers from northern Alberta, Canada. Part of the ShagowAskee team also includes team members from all around the world, including scientists, foresters, economists, and IT professionals.
It's about protecting a genetically unique buffalo herd that has a cultural significance for an indigenous community in Canada. And it's also about using technology to map what's going on and understand how this herd is affected by deforestation and changes on the land.
ShagowAskee's role is to reconcile the relationship between people and nature. We have worked with Sogeti, part of Capgemini, to analyze the changes on the landscape. Collaboration with the team has helped us communicate what the indigenous elders have known for a long time. The tech team has provided us with information that has helped us communicate to the government.
So the idea is that we can influence policymakers. We can work with the industry to try different patterns that will actually increase and become biodiversity positive. We get the opportunity to use data and analytics to drive decisions and policy making and trying to influence the way we work when it comes to sustainability and biodiversity.
The hugest benefit about working with Capgemini was the remote sensing work that they did using artificial intelligence to look over a very large landscape to see the impact of development on the Wabasca wood buffalo herd's habitat and on indigenous way of life.
We have leveraged what we call GSI, Geosatellite Intelligence, which is a set of tools and practices and experience we have at Sogeti, which enables us to work really fast when it comes to remote sensing and analytics where you use satellite imaging. We can quickly support ShagowAskee in mapping what's going on now, but also to understand what's going on since the 80s and onwards.
Yes, so as you can see, we invited Sugu to talk more to us about a real smart use case of using AI for good, about how to go from degenerative to regenerative business, and how AI can help protect the natural ecosystem. Please give Sugu a warm welcome.
Thank you so much. Hello, everyone. It's good to be here. I don't know if anyone knows this movie. It's from the 80s. Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, and they went back in time, and now they were kind of partiers in their high school days, and but they had a big influence in the future, 2500, because a lot of their philosophies and their music had an impact in the future. And I think that a lot of you are in this kind of position as well, to have some different impact on how you approach this question of nature, human intelligence and machine intelligence, and bringing it all together, I think is quite important. So we're going to go a little bit back in time a little bit, but ShagowAskee Foundation just a little bit. Like we have two main interests. One is to protect a herd, a genetically unique herd of wood buffalo, and that has a significant cultural value. I'll get into that a little bit. And also the other thing that we work on is a wildfire risk reduction in Western United States and Canada. All right, so you know the saying, red sky at night means fair weather tomorrow. A red sky in the morning means foul weather all day. You know how to interpret the signs of the sky, but you don't know how to interpret the signs of the time. This is a quote that I, just when I was preparing for this for this presentation. Faith is pretty important for us, who work in ShagowAskee, and the indigenous elders and knowledge keepers have their faith. I have mine, and we're kind of we have a common language when we talk about creation or evolution. It's the same thing, but yeah. So this is a quote from Jesus. This slide kind of sums up, everything that in a nutshell. At least how I'm how we're thinking about things. First, I think we have to look at what the problems are and work our way back a little bit. I think right across the whole world, we have two pretty big problems that is causing us to kind of push apart from each other. One is the inequality gap. If you look at it from the 1980s to now, in every country, inequality is just increasing and increasing, and you can see the tension in politics. And we have to think a little bit different how we can re-engage and come back together and talk about tough topics and talk about how we can make things better. But it seems like we're having a tough time doing that. And I think the other really big, I think someone wrote, these are kind of like threat multipliers. Healing the planet. The planet it's been kind of pushed to the edge here, and it. I really appreciated what the last speaker talked about. There's a lot of similar thinking, but we got to think a little bit different. And a lot of it comes, how we think, a lot of it comes from our economic model and our business models. Very extractive in nature, caused a lot of the challenges that we have right now across the world, whether it's inequality or planetary limits. So how we're thinking about it and how regenerative intelligence fits into it, it has to be some sort of value for business, because businesses can really harness and help make things better. You can help make things worse. It's just the way it is. But my background is in industrial forestry. I do conservation work now as well. We do both within our group. If these things can go hand in hand, it just depends where we're focusing our attention and focusing our effort and energy. So, regenerative economics, I'll just read, is an economic system that restores, renews, and revitalizes the ecological, social, and economic systems within which it operates. So, yep. So it's a slightly different slide. And we think, anyways, the deep engagement's a pretty important part of how to get to regenerative intelligence. What is deep engagement? Well, we think it's a really grassroots effort in pulling out knowledge from people that are local. Local people know what's happening on the land base the best. That's my feeling. We can have all the data sets we want on how things look, but local people really know how it works. And that's my experience, whether they're foresters that are active in the field or whether that's indigenous knowledge keepers and elders. They know what is the right thing to do. Ecosystems know. If you don't go if you don't get down to the ground level and do and see what's happening with ecosystems, again, I don't know how we're gonna get the knowledge that we want. But I think doing this kind of deep engagement will also help on two functions. From a technical perspective, I think a lot of people are, maybe here thinking about that, like, okay, proper development and use of traditional knowledge, data, and AI. But from a social political, when you engage the local communities and they start to share, okay, what are the better solutions? I think that's when you're going to get societal and business value creation. I just want to, I can go back. One thing on the regenerative economics, and I think this, if you're in the financial space, and we're talking about adding value, with respect to restoring, renewing, and revitalizing, you can see a top 5 reinsurance company now offering insurance products linked to that. Well, insurance company's not going to put a value around something that has no value. So we should start to think about how we can leverage that kind of thinking to create business value. And that will have impact on your balance sheets, hopefully on your income statements as well, but definitely on your balance sheets. And because I think if we like, I know from our perspective as a not-for-profit, money is hard to come by. So we have to think about an economic model and business model that we're kind of linked to, that is going to bring capital into helping us protect and mitigate risks. It's a little bit of a video, give you some context on the story of the buffalo. I don't know if people know the story of the buffalo or not, but I'm going to try to play this.
There is no story anywhere in world history that involves as large a destruction of wild animals as happened in North America, in the western United States in particular, between 1800 and about 1890. I mean, it is the largest destruction of animal life discoverable in modern world history.
This is the era of the myth of inexhaustibility, the belief that the West is so vast, that the resources are so vast, that they can never be exhausted. But it was so much in front of them what was happening that I think they began to figure it out. It became more and more difficult to find buffalo, and there were ominous signs. Weird things began to happen, like they would find herds that were comprised entirely of calves. But there also was a capacity to deny and to believe that they had just gone over the next ridgeline, gone into the next territory.
There are people in Miles City who had been hide hunters, and they're simply lolling around waiting for the return of the herds. They still thought there has to be some somewhere. When they'd finished, they didn't know they'd finished. They felt that, well, it can't be over. And it was over.
A cold wind blew across the prairie when the last buffalo fell, Sitting Bull said. A death wind for my people.
It was devastating for us. That would have been the most heartbreaking thing. I couldn't imagine it. I couldn't imagine the people, what they went through. Especially a father saying, I gotta take care of my children. I gotta take care of my clan. I gotta take care of my society, and I can't do it. They're taking away our grocery store, and that's what they did. The buffalo was our grocery store. They killed the spirit of the buffalo in some cases, we thought. But that's why our prayers got stronger. That's why our people got stronger. They had to. If they didn't, we would have been killed off like the buffalo.
So this is a mountain of skulls and bones, and this was happening right across the United States and Canada. And in fact, at one point, the biggest industry in Detroit was linked to to this, because you had 60 million buffalo at the start of the 1800s, and you had less than 1,000 at the end of 1800s. So that had a big impact. And this is the herd of buffalo that we're trying to protect, and it's from some cameras that we had put out there. And I'll get into a little bit of the discussion now on how we're working on how to protect this herd. But I also want to show that even what might seem like common sense isn't, and we can have all the tools that we want, but if we at the end can't decide wisely, it won't matter. So I just want to go through some, just a few little quick facts on this herd. So this herd in particular has, so when you have 60 million buffalo and you go down to less than 1,000 in all North America, and the indigenous people are linked to this animal, that means the cultural bonds are broken right across all of North America between this very important species and the people. So you have in this area, this herd is one of the few remaining herds that there is an ongoing cultural relationship. Okay, so there's a huge cultural significance because it's tied to their spirituality. It's tied, even when we met with Alaska Fish and Game, the Alaskan government. And they even said they wanted the indigenous elders from ShagowAskee to go up there because they've reintroduced buffalo, but others don't have that relationship anymore. Now, the second really important thing and different is this herd is genetically differentiated from all other herds and is unique genetic variants not found in other populations. So that means from an evolutionary or from maybe there's something from the ecosystem is making it different. So it has that reason, but we battle it out. We're battling it out all the time, even when the law is kind of on their sides. This is the kind of battle that we're facing regularly. Even if there's laws in place that say that any other resource development in the range poses a threat to recovery, this map shows, the range that the indigenous knowledge keepers have in the pink, and then in the brown, showing the range that the government thought in 2004. The herd was 150 in 2004, 7 now. Now this is the range that the government say. And in that range, now the forest company is planning to harvest. And we're not against the forestry, but we're against to doing it in this area on this herd. And they're using models, they're using their tools to come up with their ideas on how, okay, what can be done here, and we think differently. With respect to what we're doing now with Sogeti, we have the traditional knowledge. We go out in the field, and we're collecting a lot of data points. And then we're using satellite images, and I'm going to do just a little bit of like a reading here because it's kind of technical, and I just think so what we're doing is the data points and GPS locations from the field are then linked to satellite images. Machine learning then will allow us to observe patterns and changes over time based on delineation or classes, because we're trying to delineate the landscape from the buffalo's eyes. Previously, there's lots of data sets out there, but there's biases in the data sets because the data sets were created for a specific economic purpose. So we're creating a new delineation on the landscape. The satellite images we use are used coming from Landsat 8 and 9, providing high-resolution data across a range of spectral bands. These images contain far more information than what the eye can first discern. Each pixel contains more than 30 different numerical values on vegetation, health, tree species, moisture, elevation, and so on. So then we're linking the traditional knowledge to this, and the traditional knowledge is guiding also, the work that's being done here. And then we're going to, like I said earlier, we're going to create a new map through the buffalo's eyes, delineating this whole landscape, so that even though in that previous exercise I showed, everyone's trying to do probabilities on, okay, where the buffalo is and not, and go and do the timber harvesting. We're saying, okay, well, there shouldn't be any harvesting, and we're going to plan for the future, and we're just going to delineate, because we think that regenerative intelligence is leading to regenerative economics, or actually regenerative economics is going to drive regenerative intelligence. Because business still wants to add value, and So I think the challenge that we have is what kind of prosthetic we build. A good prosthetic that narrows the inequality gap, helps the planet heal, or something that does the opposite. My personal worry. Being consistent with the signs of the time, back to the earlier quote, means addressing in a just way how the tragedy of the commons will not take seed in regenerative economics. Else the animals will be angry with us, maybe more so than now. But that can be a healthy worry, because if we keep it in mind, then we can build the right prosthetics together. Thank you.